Ross Gerber just bought more Tesla stock, as you can see here, which is really interesting because Ross Gerber sold about 30% of his position on April 24th. Where was Tesla stock on April 24th? Well, it was lower than where we are right now. Somebody please give Ross a tissue. He may need it. Ross was also on TV after the shareholder meeting, so let's see what he had to say.
Do you think that FSD, full self-driving, is going to unlock that, 5x value of the car that Musk told David about?
It's just a couple of things. First of all, I don't know if Phil has used the software lately. I use it every day, and I just drove to work with it, and it's amazing. Like, the fact it's not perfect, I don't think that's up for debate. It's not perfect yet. But I was following behind a driver who was extremely poor at driving. And in LA, I'm sure you would agree with me, Sully, that most drivers are just horrendously bad. Just horrendously bad. It's already better than most humans. So if you're over 80 and you're driving, this is already better than you on the road. So the idea is that the expectation that it's got to be perfect or close to it. And that's what makes this so difficult to solve. And driving in LA is just like a madhouse. So if you think about this as a solution in most cities around the country, it already works very good. And it's only a matter of time till it works completely. So I think that when you use the software daily and you see how quickly it's learning, your perspective is very different than if you don't use the software or have never used the software at all. So It seems like most people who opine about it have never actually used it.
It is funny that the biggest Tesla stock bear, Gordon Johnson, does not even want to try full self-driving himself. He says it is too dangerous, but you can go to a track, put your helmet on, keep your hands on the steering wheel, and be ready to take over at any moment. This would be perfectly safe, but yet he insists it is not. Although, then I think more about it, maybe Gordon is right. Maybe it is really dangerous for his reputation, because he will be so wrong about full self-driving. I think if you haven't really tried it yourself multiple times, and if you haven't tried out each and every new version before, then it's a bit difficult to really grasp how fundamentally transformative is full self-driving and how fast the progress is being made. But it's definitely not perfect. 2 days ago, our Tesla failed the Vive test. Full self-driving beta decided to slow down for no good reason, really. Well, there was a traffic light on the left side and it was red, but that was only for the left turn and you could go straight, no problem. But there was no traffic light for going straight. So it was maybe for software that was a bit confusing, but for any human being, I don't think it would have been really confusing. And then 30 seconds later, it started slowing down again and I couldn't really figure out the reason for that over slowdown. So my wife demanded that I turn off full self-driving this time, or to be more exact, she didn't really demand that, but I asked her, do you mind if I keep driving on full self-driving mode this time? And she went, so I turned it off. But a few days before, we went on a longer drive, and the whole time I was on full self-driving mode, and she looked at me at the end of the drive and said, oh, I thought you were driving the whole time, weren't you? I was like, no, the car was driving itself. Some of the time it works really well, and the other times, well, if you're driving by yourself, it's fine. But if you have a lot of passengers in your car, they may not appreciate these maneuvers that the car does suddenly.
Brian, wait a second. I'm not debating that the full self-driving software is better than 99% of the human drivers. We are terrible drivers. That's not the debate. The debate is when he says we will have full self-driving autonomous vehicles, that means 100% or 99.99.9%. Because if it's not at that level, at some point the regulators will step in. So it's not that it has to be better than us. It already is better than us.
It's better than us, but you got to look at it from a different perspective. One of the problems with full self-driving is it's got to work around humans, the other human drivers. This
Correct.
is most of the reason I have to disengage is because other people do really dumb stuff, and I've got to like make an evasive maneuver or something.
You are 100% right. But if you tell me that I can take my car at some point and it's full self-driving and it takes me to work at CNBC and then I say, toodaloo, go off and you can be a robo-taxi for somebody, there's nobody behind the wheel. You know what I'm talking about. Ross, the humans, that's the equation.
It's going to take time. I'm not disagreeing with that.
284 million, and that's what you just said is the point. It's going to take time.
Yeah, but I'm not disagreeing, guys.
And that still makes it worth it to buy more Tesla stock, because even from here, just with full self-driving alone, it will probably double, triple, quadruple, quintuple.
Gary Black, will it affect the stock? Let's bring it back to investors. If indeed this comes out and it's so good, is it going to move the stock maybe 5 times, like the car is worth 5 times, because they're the only ones that are likely going to have it, and all of a sudden people realize my car can make money for me?
Look, you guys are going down the wrong path. There's 3 takeaways from this meeting today, and none of them was FSD. There was nothing new presented about FSD. The 3 takeaways were, 1, they're going to try advertising and see how it goes. That is a totally new approach by Elon, and something we've talked about for a long time, and Ross has talked about a long time. It's a way you can add a lot of value to Tesla and bring it close to Apple's market cap, because you're not just relying on price to drive EV adoption.
Gary does have a point. There was nothing new shared about full self-driving. However, in the interview after the shareholder meeting, Elon did say something that caught my attention.
I think Tesla will have sort of a ChatGPT moment. Maybe if not this year, I'd say no later than next year.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry. You're going to have a
sort of ChatGPT moment.
Oh, you will. In terms of suddenly it will.
Yeah, suddenly 3 million cars will be able to drive themselves with no one.
Right. It goes back to that. Right.
Yeah, and then 5 million cars, and then 10 million cars.
Elon is saying that if it's not sold this year, then certainly next year. I don't think Elon said that earlier. So I think just going with that, we could say this year, probably not very likely that full self-driving will actually be sold fully. Next year, maybe there's a possibility. Troy posted a poll asking, when do you think Tesla might achieve driverless full self-driving? In 1 to 2 years was the most popular answer. 3 to 4 years was the second most popular answer, and then it goes downhill from there. On relatively simple roads, full self-driving works incredibly well for me, but the moment you introduce a lot more sophistication, let's say there's a construction zone or some sort of really weird roads or intersections, it still handles those, but there's phantom braking, there's some weird maneuver sometimes, and occasionally it does something really silly. Overall, though, I am very happy with how full self-driving is progressing.
Second big point is, somebody asked Elon about the rumors about him leaving as CEO, and he said bluntly, it ain't so. He's not going anywhere. That's important. And the third big aha that I had was, there's 2 new next generation products, and he put a number. He said 5 million units on the 2 units, and it's probably a $25,000 hatchback and a $25,000 baby SUV. Those are the 3 most important points from today's meeting, because the stuff he talked about FSD was not new.
On Twitter, Gary also added a few more reasons why the investor sentiment has improved this week so far around Tesla, and one of them is the Tesla bot. Tesla, he thinks, now is viewed as the next AI play, with the Tesla bot potentially having a total addressable market of $5 to $10 trillion. That is, if these bots are sold at $5,000 to $10,000, and if there are only 1 billion of them sold. Gary Black also thinks that Cybertruck is on track to have 250,000 deliveries in 2024.
I don't think he's worried about the startups, and I don't think he's thinking about the traditional automakers. I think he is looking at what is the most what's the logical next step in terms of our product portfolio? And as Gary mentioned, and as Ross has talked about, it's that entry-level vehicle. And if you can come in, my God, the number of people I talk with who say, God, if I could get a Tesla for $25,000, I would do it in a heartbeat. If you can come up with that, if they can find a way and to be profitable with it, that is I mean, that's going to be really tough for anybody to compete with, at least here in North America.
100%.
Absolutely. And then
We'll make it Mexico.
Yep.
CNBC's Philebo actually made a whole lot of sense there. Tesla is not worried about any of the competition, really. Tesla just looks at, okay, what is the next product that people actually need? Tesla is not thinking, oh, what is BYD going to do? What is Volkswagen going to do? What are all these other legacy automakers going to do? No, Tesla is just worried about what do our customers need. With this next generation vehicle, Tesla will absolutely obliterate all of the competition. Get ready because it's gonna be interesting. In this video, I talked more about Tesla starting to advertise. My name is Matt. Post this, like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, don't mind me here. I'm just looking at how the transition for example, Toyota and Volkswagen and BMW is going into EVs. Looks like they're struggling, and I know how it's going to end, but it's still interesting to watch. I just can't help myself but just keep watching.